Sanatana Dharma, an elementary textbook of Hindu religion and ethics, narrated by Vaidyanathan. Part 3, Chapter 10, Virtues and Vices in Relation to Inferiors. As we venture further into the world, we encounter many individuals who are younger than ourselves, from the next or later generations. We also meet those who are less educated, poorer, or lower in social rank. In forming relationships with such individuals, who may be inferior to us in specific aspects or generally, it is essential to know which virtues to cultivate and which vices to avoid to ensure harmonious relations. The first and most obvious of these relations is with our youngers, and the best examples of the necessary virtues are seen in the relationships of parents to their children. Tenderness, compassion, gentleness, and kindness. How strongly these virtues shine out in loving parents, and how happy they make the home. Fathers and mothers love their children, suffer in their sufferings, are glad in their pleasures, and feel sympathy with them in everything. This fact is beautifully illustrated in an ancient story, the tale of Surabhi's sorrow when her children suffered. In days of yore, Surabhi, the celestial mother of cows and bulls, stood before Indra, the king of the Devas, shedding tears. Indra asked her eagerly, "Why are you weeping, blessed mother of the cows? Has something bad happened to you?" Surabhi replied, "Nothing bad has happened to me, but I am grieving for my children. Look, O King of the worlds, at that cruel farmer beating my weak son who struggles at the plough, falling repeatedly in his frailty. The stronger one carries his burden easily, but the weaker one struggles. It is for him that I grieve with heavy heart and tearful eyes." Indra asked in wonder, "But thousands of your children are thus treated every day." Surabhi replied, "And for each of those thousands that suffer like this, I weep, O king, and I weep more for the one that is weaker than for the others." Then Indra understood the love in a mother's heart for her suffering child and poured down showers on the fields of earth, sending comfort to both person and the beast alike. Very tenderly is shown the love of Dasharatha for Ramachandra, his perfect son, both in his joy over his splendid qualities and his sorrow in his exile. Listen to his words as he addresses his princes and nobles when he proposes to install his son as his successor, to seat him on the throne. Every sentence breathes his love and pride. And when Kaikeyi has claimed her boons and demands Rama's exile to the forest, see Dasharatha falling at her feet, declaring that though the world might live without the son, without Rama he could not live. "I lay my head at your feet. Be merciful to me. Have pity on me, as I am old and near death." And so true was this that when Sri Rama at last tore himself away from his father, that father went home broken hearted and died from grief for his exiled son. And remember the pitiful scene between Ramachandra and his mother Kaushalya when he carries her the news of his exile. He shall not go, she cries in her anguish. Without him, she will pine away and die. Or if he be fixed in will to go, in loving obedience to his father's orders, then will she also tread the forest paths. Just like a cow follows its calf, I will follow you, my darling, wherever you go. And see the woo of Kunti when her five noble sons, the Pandavas, are driven away into exile after the shameful gambling match in which all was lost. Kunti, bravest of women and mothers, who, when the hour of battle came, bade Sri Krishna tell her sons that the time has come for which a Kshatriya woman bore a son, and that even life should be laid down for honor's sake. This Kunti wailed, broken hearted, and could scarcely force herself away from her sons, could scarcely forbear to follow them as they went forth. Or again, note the agony of Arjuna over the death of his heroic son Abhimanyu. As he returns to the camp from the field of battle, he feels an unaccustomed cloud envelop him and turns to Sri Krishna for help and explanation. Eagerly he questions his brothers, who fear to answer him, and with a sad heart he feels the piercing anguish of his son's death. Surely the youth must have thought, as his foes closed in around him, my father will rescue me from this fierce storm. But his father came not to his aid, and he fell, pierced by 100 wounds. Not being present to protect his child, that was a thought that stung Arjuna to madness. For even the heroic soul longs to protect the weaker, much more so when the hero is a father and the weaker is a well loved son. The duty of protecting the weak is embodied in the righteous king, and it is the fulfillment of this duty that awakens the loyalty of his subjects. To protect his subjects is the pinnacle of kingly duties, says Bhishma. The king should always bear himself towards his subjects as a mother towards a child of her womb. As the mother, discarding those objects that are most cherished by her, seeks the good of her child alone, even so, without doubt, should kings conduct themselves. So stringent is this duty of protection that King Sagara exiled his own eldest son Asamanjas because that prince, in reckless cruelty, drowned the children of his subjects in the river. Many are the stories of the ways in which good kings defended the weak who trusted in their protection. And this sense of duty embraced the lower animals as well as people. A dog had followed King Yudhishthira the Just from Hastinapura through all his weary wanderings on the last great journey and had crossed with him the vast desert, the only survivor of that long travel, along with the king himself. Indra came down from heaven to fetch the king to Swarga and bid him mount the car and speed upwards with him. The king stooped and gently touched the head of his faithful canine follower. This dog, O Lord of the past and of the present, is very devoted to me. He too should go. My heart is full of compassion for this poor child of earth. No dog may tread the heavenly fields, said Indra in reply. O king, you have won immortality, a state like mine, vast fortune, great success, and all the joys of heaven today. Cast off the dog that hinders your ascent. There is nothing cruel in this act. He belongs to the earth and should remain there. O virtuous one, you who live righteously, a Vedic should not act unworthily. I do not desire happiness gained by abandoning someone devoted to me. Heaven has no place for persons followed by dogs, said Indra sternly. Abandon the dog and come. Time is running short. To abandon the devoted is a sin immeasurable, say the wise. As black as the slaying of a Brahmana is this sin of abandoning the weak. O Indra, mighty one, not for the sake of winning happiness will I cast away this dog. In vain did Indra command or plead. The king remained unmoved. Nor could sophistry confuse his clear vision. He had abandoned his brother and his wife. Why not the dog? Said Indra. This is well known in all the worlds that with the dead is neither friendship nor yet quarrel. When my brothers and Krishna fell and died, no power was mine to bring them back to life. Hence I abandoned them. I did not abandon them so long as they were living. This one lives to terrorize a seeker for protection, to slay a woman, to steal what belongs to a Brahmana, to injure a friend. To each of these crimes, I think, is equal to the sin of abandoning one so devoted. And then the dog vanished, and Dharma, Deva of righteousness, stood in celestial glory where had crouched the dog, and with him and Indra, sung by Devas, praised by sages, the righteous king was carried to the heavenly world. Here yet another tale of ancient days. King Shivi, son of Ushinara, sat in his spacious hall in the midst of his assembled court. All at once a dove flew in and rushing through the air, flung itself into the broad lap of the king, panting breathless, fainting with fatigue and fear. As the king stroked and smoothed its ruffled feathers in a wondering tenderness, soothing back its breath and life with his caresses, an angry hawk dashed into the hall also, and came to a sudden pause before the king. In reviving terror, the dove cried out in a human voice, "You are the ruler of this land where I live. I have the right to your protection as well. I come to you seeking refuge from my enemy." But the hawk said also with a human voice, "I also live under your rule, O king, and this food is my rightful share given by providence. If you deny it to me, you are refusing me my right." The king pondered a while and said, "You are both right. Dove, you have the right to my protection from harm, and hawk, you have the right to your food. But to resolve this dilemma, I will give you other food, hawk, until you are satisfied." But the hawk said, "I must have the dove itself, nothing else. Or if you offer something else, then it must be the flesh from your own body, O king, equal in weight to this dove." The angry ministers would have slain at once the hawk that menaced the priceless life of their beloved master and cried out against the petty thing. But King Shivi said, "I sit here as the sovereign, not for small or great, not for dove or hawk, but as the living embodiment of dharma, setting an example for my people. If I fail in the small things, I shall fail in the great ones too, and my people will fail grievously, imitating me. Bring up a pair of scales. Stricken with a great sorrow, powerless to disobey, setting their teeth against the outwelling groans, the ministers brought up scales. With one gentle hand, the king placed the dove into one, and with the other strong hand, he hewed a piece of flesh from his own limbs. But the dove was too heavy, and the king hewed off another piece, and the dove was much too heavy still. And the wondering king hewed off still another piece of flesh from his body. But the dove grew ever heavier. At last, the king threw his whole body into the scale. And behold, the hawk and the dove disappeared, and in their place stood Indra and Agni. And they cried aloud, "Truly you are a king, and understand the sovereign's foremost duty of protection. We have found you to be even greater than we had heard. Your body is no longer harmed. May you live long in the hearts of your people." Indeed, these stories of kings serve as powerful examples of the duty to protect the weak. While kings are often depicted as the ultimate protectors, the virtues they embody can be practiced by everyone, including boys, in their own lives. By following these examples, we can all strive to protect and support those who are weaker than ourselves, fostering a more compassionate and just society. The great type of compassion, so much so that his compassion has passed into a proverb, compassionate as a Rantideva, was again a king. Once he and his dependents went fasting for 48 days, and on the morning of the 49th day, he received some ghee, milk, barley, and water. They sat down to their frugal meal, but when a Brahmana arrived as a guest, he fed him before touching the food himself. Then, when the Brahmana had departed, he divided what remained into equal shares and gave to each, reserving one portion for himself. But as he prepared to eat, a Shudra came, and he gladly gave him a share of that small meal. And when the Shudra had gone, before he could break his fast, a person came with a troop of dogs, and Rantideva gave the rest of the food except one drink of water to these. They also went, and Rantideva raised to his parched lips the welcome drink. "Give water, a little water," moaned a voice nearby, and Rantideva, turning, saw a miserable form, an outcast, lying on the ground, turning longing, piteous eyes at the water in his hand. Bending over him, with sweet compassion beaming from his tender eyes, Rantideva gently raised the outcast's head and put the cool, pure water to his panting, dust-soiled lips. "Drink, brother," he said kindly, doubling the value of the gift with his mild graciousness. And as the outcast drank, the loving heart of Rantideva burst into a prayer to Hari. "I do not ask for the 8 siddhis," thus he spoke. "I do not ask nirvana. Only I ask that I may pervade all beings, suffering for them their miseries, that they may live without sorrow. By giving this water to save the life of this suffering person, my hunger, thirst, languor, distress, and giddiness have all passed away. And this prayer has ever remained the most perfect expression of compassion. The danger connected with showing tenderness and protection to those weaker than ourselves is the vice of pride. It arises from ahamkara, which gives a sense of separateness of I and you, and focuses more on the fact that I am helping this weaker one, rather than sharing what is truly a common store with one temporarily shut out from it by their separate fall. By letting the mind dwell on one's own usefulness and power to do good, pride is awakened and quickly ruins the good work that has been performed. None who wears a separate body may escape the power of this subtlest and most dangerous of foes, known as ahamkara. Even the very highest fall beneath its sway in unguarded moments and unavoidably suffer the consequences. For the law of karma is inflexible and equal for high and low alike. Many warnings are therefore given in the Smriti against ahamkara and pride, the great and subtle foe of the wise and strong. Listen to some of these. The ancient sage Narayana spent ages in the severest penance on the peak known as Badari in the Himalaya mountains. To test his freedom from attractions of sense objects, Indra sent thousands of heavenly nymphs to play about in his tapovana, his grove of austerity, and divert his attention away from his austerities. They did as directed. The Rishi Narayana saw with his illumined eyes the purpose of their coming and smiled with confidence. By his yoga power, he produced many thousands of similarly shaped forms and sent them forth to offer hospitality to Indra's hosts. The latter were ashamed and prayed to the Rishi to forgive their evil purpose. And he was pleased and did so, and further offered them a boon. The boon they asked was that he should be their husband and protector. Great was his perplexity, but having said that he would give, he could not say no. He repented sadly. This great trouble has arisen out of my ahankara, without a doubt. The first cause of the frustration of all dharma is ahankara. Then he said to the maidens, it is against my vow to enter into the household life in this birth. In another birth, as Krishna, which, shall, which I shall have to take for other work, I shall redeem my promise and bear the fearful weight of this huge household, marrying you all out of the high families into which you also shall be born. Vishwamitra, king of Gadi, belonging to the line of Kshatriya kings founded by Kusha, who came directly from Brahma, returned to his kingdom with his armies after a great tour of conquest. Passing through the tapovana of the sage Vasishtha, Vishwamitra left his armies at a distance and went in reverence to the hermitage of the sage to make obeisance. Vasishtha received him with all honor and kindness. As Vishwamitra rose to depart, fearing lest his armies cause a disturbance in that place of peace, Vasishtha offered hospitality to the king with all his forces. Vishwamitra declined again and again, very unwilling to burden the ascetic's scant resources. But Vasishtha insisted, intimating that by the powers of his tapas and with the help of his wonderful cow, Nandini, he could easily provide all that his regal guest could need for all his retinue. Thus in him arose Ahamkara. Vishwamitra, thus overpressed, consented and beheld the wonders of the cow. Then greed arose in his mind, and he said, a Brahmana has no need for such a cow. It is a fit possession only for kings. And he asked Vasishtha for the cow. Vasishtha then grew sad, but said, take the cow if she consents to leave me. But the faithful cow would not. And when the men of Vishwamitra endeavored to drag her away by force, she appealed in piteous terms to her master not to abandon her. Then Vasishtha gave way to wrath, the natural next step after subtle ahamkara and pride. And a great war arose between the Brahmana and the Kshatriya, which changed the whole history of the land. The cow called forth to her aid many non-Vedic tribes, Shakas and Pallavas, Yavanas and Barbaras, and they were destroyed by Vishwamitra. But finally the Brahmana power of Vasishtha overwhelmed the Kshatriya prowess of Vishwamitra. In Vairagya, he gave up his kingdom and practiced the severest tapas for ages, resolved to obtain the Brahmana power. After long ages of self-denial, he succeeded, and peace was made between him and Vasishtha, who recognized him as Brahma Rishi. To be king of the Devas is to hold a position that may easily fill the heart with pride, and from this cause, Indra several times fell from his high estate. Once surrounded by his Devas, he sat on the throne of three worlds, and when Brihaspati, teacher of all the Devas, came before him, Indra kept his seat, not rising up to receive the great preceptor. Then Brihaspati turned and went his ways, abandoning the Devas, whom the Asuras then assaulted with success, driving them and their king from Swarga. This led to many other troubles and to the slaying of a Brahmana on two separate occasions by Indra, so that he had to perform much penance before he became purified. While Indra was performing his long penance, the Devas, to prevent Swarga from suffering the evils of anarchy, elected King Nahusha of the lunar dynasty of the earth's kings to hold the high office of the ruler of heaven. None other was found fit for it. But as Nahusha ruled, and ruled with great might than Indra himself, pride grew in his heart day by day, and thoughts of sin followed behind the thoughts of pride. He said to Devas, I bear the burdens of Indra. I must have his rights also. Let Sachi, the wife of Indra, appear before me. The Devas, distressed, thought that Nahusha was no longer fit to rule in heaven and felt sure that the time for Indra's return was near. But who was strong enough to stand before Nahusha? The might he has earned by past good deeds could be defeated only if he roused the wrath of some great rishi by some dire offense. So they spoke with Sachi and told Nahusha that Sachi would see him if he came to her home on the shoulders of the rishis. Nahusha ordered a conveyance borne by rishis. The sage Agastya and others were asked by the order of the king to lift the sedan chair, and they consented gently. But as a procession marched, Nahusha, in his eagerness and overflowing pride, touched Agastya's head with his foot and angrily ordered him to go faster. Then Agastya saw that Nahusha's time had come, and he pronounced a curse on him. Nahusha fell from heaven into a huge serpent's body on this earth and suffered the pains of a high soul confined to a low body for many, many ages until released by the wise words of his descendant Yudhishthira, the king that had no enemy. Now Bali, son of Virochana, had dwelt long in high prosperity, for the Devi Shri or Lakshmi stayed with him as a reward for his good action. But pride in his own righteousness and in the happiness it brought him entered into his heart, and he began to think highly of himself and ill of others, and wrought evil to them instead of seeking their welfare as before. Then the Devi, displeased with Bali, determined to leave him and go and dwell with his enemy Indra, the Deva king, in Swarga. Vainly did Bali lament his folly when he saw the Devi, who had long blessed him, living with his rival. And this, said Udatya of King Mandhata, is a result of malice and pride. May you be awakened, O Mandhata, so that the Devi of prosperity may not in wrath desert you. The Shrutis declared that unrighteousness got a son named Pride on the Devi of prosperity. This pride, O king, led many among the Suras and the Asuras to ruin. Many royal sages have also suffered destruction on his account. You do therefore awaken, O king. He who succeeds in conquering him becomes a king. He who, on the other hand, suffers himself to be conquered by him becomes a slave. Sometimes the inferior may save his superior by wise action, preventing them from falling into sin due to wrath and pride. Such was the case in ancient days when a son saved his father. Chirakarin, the son of Gautama of the lineage of Angirasa, was known for his cautious and deliberate nature, as his name implies. Chirakara means acting slowly. One day, Gautama saw his wife commit a sin, and in his anger commanded his son, slay this woman, and then left. Chirakaran was torn between his duty to obey his father and his duty to revere his mother. He pondered deeply, considering the merits of obedience to his father and the sacred duty of protecting his mother. Obedience to a father's commands is the highest merit. Protection of the mother is a clear duty. How shall I then avoid sin? I am the son of both my father and mother. All that the son has, the father gives. In his satisfaction, all the devas are satisfied. His words of pleasure brings blessings to the son. But the mother, she is the giver of the body, the protector of the child. When the son loses his mother, the world for him is empty. There is no shelter, no refuge, no defense like her. None is so dear as she. Chirakaran continued to muse, bewildered by conflicting claims. He thought further. The husband has his names, Bhartri, Pati, as a supporter and protector of the wife. If he ceases to support and protect, how shall he remain the husband? And my mother is to me the object of my highest reverence. Meanwhile, Gautama, calmed by meditation, realized the sin he had committed in commanding his son to slay his wife. Overwhelmed with remorse, he hastened home, weeping and blaming his own carelessness for his wife's offense, hoping that his son had not obeyed him. Rescue me, he cried, thinking of his son. Rescue me and your mother and the penances I have achieved, as also your own self from grave sins. Thus Chirakaran, through patience and careful consideration, fulfilled his father's true will rather than his hasty order, saving his father from a grievous sin inspired by pride and wrath.